Hey, it's Russell Graves, and you got to pardon the dust a little bit of it around here because we've got this barn on the property that we're trying to reconvert into kind of a family house or party barn, someplace that when people come over, we can gather instead of going into the house and messing up the house. We can just come out here, and it's going to be really a full service kind of barn. It's just a big open area. We're gonna have a big table out here where we can seat the family for like Thanksgiving or Christmas gatherings. Also has a small kitchen in it, bathroom, everything else. So it's really gonna be a nice finished out space. But I'm getting towards the end of this construction, and one of the things I'm working on right now is this homemade vent-a-hood. And so I built the frame already and attached the frame to the wall. I'm gonna put my own light underneath here, and I want to put my own fan underneath here. But the reason why I built a homemade vent-a-hood is I wanted to recycle some of the old metal that we found around the place after we bought it. And to do that, I'm just going to wrap this thing in some old barn tin that I found already. And here's a short piece I have here. This is actually called, I think nowadays it's called AP panel, but if you look at the profile, it's got a couple of ridges on each side. This is just a piece of it. And then it's flat, and then it has another ridge down the middle, another rib down the middle. Now, one thing we could do to finish this thing is we could just come to the corner with it, but we've got the potential of an exposed corner that you can kind of see through. I mean, we could wrap this thing with a small piece of metal, or we could even paint it black to kind of hide it and camouflage that wood behind it. But I think it would look better if we were to use a piece of metal like this that's pre-bent, and then just work our way around the corner with it like this. Now, how do you bend sheet metal like this if you don't have a brake? Well, I'm gonna show you an easy way that you can do that with just a couple of simple tools and a couple of simple items that you may already have laying around your property. So to bend this metal, I just need a couple of tools, and this technique works great if you're using a thin gauge metal. Like this metal I have is probably a 26 gauge steel sheeting like goes on a roof. 28 gauge will work fine. If you get much thicker than that, you need a brake to do this with. And what a brake is, it's a big machine that metal workers use to put flat metal in, and they can bend angles into metal. And so I don't have one of those big brakes. I'm not going to go out and buy one because I literally need to make two bends to be able to wrap this vent-a-hood with this old reclaimed sheet metal that I've got. And so all I need are a few simple tools to get started. One, I'm going to use just a couple of pieces of angle iron. This is 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch angle iron. It doesn't matter the thickness of it because we're going to use this to make a sandwich with. We're going to put the metal between this, and this is what's going to give us our basis to bend the metal. And then the next thing we're going to need is just a flat bladed screwdriver, just a regular screwdriver. And I'm going to use this screwdriver is actually harder than the metal I use, so I'll use the screwdriver just to score the metal and help me bend it. Last tools I need are a couple of clamps just to clamp the metal in this whole tin sandwich we're going to make. Clamp it down to my sawhorse, and then that way we can make the bend. Now to get started, I'm just going to place this angle iron against my sawhorse, and that's going to be the bottom part of my metal sandwich, so to speak. And then I'll take a piece of my sheet iron that I'm going to bend. Again, this is just reclaimed sheet iron from around the place. And then I already know about what I'm going to bend. You can make marks on it, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to get it all squared up. And then I'm going to take my second piece of angle iron and then lay it right on top of it. And so from there, it's just a matter of taking my clamps and clamping this whole contraption down. Now here's an important thought. When you're clamping this down, make sure your long edge is out. That way we're going to use the fulcrum, the mechanical advantage we have from the longer piece to help us bend this whole piece around. Okay, now that I've got it clamped down in here good and tight, next thing I'm going to do is just take my screwdriver and I'm going to score it right against my angle iron a couple of times. Again, all I'm doing is just following the edge of the angle iron with the blade of my screwdriver. Probably scoring it 3 or 4 times would be enough. And you can see as you drag the screwdriver across the metal, that metal is actually going to create a line in there. And all that's going to do is help me get started. Now, The last step from there is just bending it. Again, I'm going to use the mechanical advantage of the fulcrum I have with this long piece. Now I'm just going to slowly bend it against the angle iron. And the angle iron shouldn't move if you've got it clamped down good. And then you could get a tighter bend around the edge of the angle iron if you were to take a hammer and hammer this. But I think for my purposes, all I'm going to do is screw this to the edge of it. And for my purposes, just to get the bend started will be good enough. So once I'm done, I can take it out of my vise I made and then just kind of bend it the rest of the way by hand, and then look at that. That's a great bend I've got, and I did it really easy with tools I had at home, and I don't have to hire someone to bend it for me, and I don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on a brake to just bend this sheet metal. It's a great way to bend sheet metal. Again, all it takes are a couple of pieces of angle iron, a couple of clamps to hold it down, a screwdriver just to score it, and then your own muscle just to bend it around. And again, it doesn't take much muscle, but that's how you bend sheet metal. And if you need to do a project like this, it's an easy way to do it.